What is the story with Skinny Razor?
Skinny was a stone killer. One day during a snowstorm, he grabbed my uncle and said, "Come on, let's go." They walked in the snowstorm because nobody was out driving or anything. They went in the store and they killed this guy who was the informer, and they cut his balls off and they stuck it in his mouth. And that's how my uncle got involved with killing people. It was my uncle, Nick Scarfo. To get made, you always got to kill somebody. And with him, he wanted me to kill 2 people. So I said, "Vince, the refrigerator, go get some ice and we'll have some drinks." So as soon as he turned around, I shot him back of the head.
What's the reaction when you're looking at it? Nothing?
No.
Zero.
No, I thought I was doing a good thing. First, Ange got killed. He was the biggest drug dealer in Philadelphia. Phil Testa was blown up. The bomb went off and the blast blew him all the way to the back door. This is what we do. This is what we are. We're killers.
So you knew when Salvi's hit was coming before it happened?
It was sickening.
Phil, this kind of sounds crazy to live the life.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
We had to be crazy to be in the mob. You just can't become the boss. You got to get approved by the commission.
So they're protecting each other in a way.
Yeah, if you're going to kill a boss, this is what's going to happen.
Why wouldn't they take you guys out?
We're in the mob to make money. Besides killing everybody, what exactly did we do wrong?
30 seconds.
Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close, I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
So the last time my guest did an interview was with John Miller from CBS in 2013. And John Miller, if you don't know who he is, he interviewed Osama bin Laden. He flew out to go have a private interview with Osama bin Laden. And my guest today, Philip Leonetti, he's only done 2 interviews. One was that, and one was he did a few years prior to that. And this is his 3rd one. And when we do the interview today, the reason for this is because you obviously know we've interviewed a lot of people from different crime families, but many of you were requesting someone to sit down with us from Philadelphia and Atlantic City. And the main name, when you think about that today, is Philip Leonetti. So we reached out, we spoke to his attorney, we were able to make this work, and he was kind enough to fly out and sit down with us here today. So Phil, thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get into the interview, I have the one obvious question before I got a list of questions that I want to get into with you is, it's been a long time since you left the life, right?
Yes.
And Nicky Scarfo, your boss, your uncle, passed away in 2017. Why are you still uncomfortable revealing yourself when you're doing an interview?
Well, you never know. There's a lot of crazy people out there that want to be gangsters, that figure if they do run into me or recognize me somewhere, they'll take a shot at me and make themselves a big man. They could, go to Philadelphia and say, "Yeah, I killed Phil Leonetti." So I'm always careful.
Got it. So
I
it's
always
still,
watch.
even after these many years?
I always watch myself, yes, even after all these years.
When you're going out and you're sitting in restaurants or places or walking, are you always, aware of your surroundings and what's going on?
I watch myself, yes, I am.
Even till today?
Even till today, not only because of the mob, but because of today with everybody with the guns and shootings. You never know. You run into crazy people today.
Now, were you always, would you consider yourself a little bit paranoid, or no? You would say more cautious than paranoid?
I'm more cautious
than
paranoid. My uncle was very paranoid
Sure.
about everything, but no, I was careful. I was his bodyguard 24 hours a day, and it came from that. It's something that's embedded in me. It comes natural.
Okay, yeah, I kind of was going towards. Were you like that before you decided to join the life, and was it always a way you were? You were a little bit more cautious and a little bit more careful. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's go back to how this whole thing got started. So you're going through what you're going through. Your father leaves the picture. He's no longer there. You move to Ducktown, and you're there with your mother. How does the life get started for you? When did you go from just being Phil Leonetti to, getting hooked up with your uncle?
Well, when my uncle moved to Atlantic City, he started to take me under his wing. He would bring me hunting with him, bring me different places, and he would talk to me about this thing, La Cosa Nostra, and which I really didn't understand at that time. But he would tell me about we're different than everybody else. We don't live the same life as the government. They have different rules than we do. And he was teaching me, about respect and honor. And that's the way, you know, he groomed me, you know, and grew up. I grew up like that.
And how old were you at that time when he's grooming you?
7, 8.
At 7 years
I started, yeah, with him.
I have an 8-year-old son. You mean to tell me at 7 years old he's having these conversations with you?
Oh, yeah. He even took me, and around that time, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, he took me for a ride in this truck. He told me he just killed this bad man who disrespected our family. And he was talking, not our family, La Cosa Nostra family. That's what he meant. And he said, look, I'm going to take you with me so it doesn't look suspicious, like I'm doing something wrong. So you'd be like a little bit of a decoy. And we drove to Philadelphia in this pickup truck where they carried the body and buried this man that he killed. And he told me the whole reason why he killed him, that he slapped one of the family members and disrespected him and all. So he told me how he killed him and where they killed him. He told me the whole story, and it made me feel like, wow, he's telling me all this. He made me feel like a big man.
Almost like he's trusting you?
He's trusting me, yeah.
Now, at that time, who is the man you're looking up to? Was there somebody in your life that you could look up to and say, you know, this man's going to protect me, I can one day be like him? Is there anybody like that in your life?
At that time, it was my uncle, Nick Scarfo.
It was him?
Yeah.
And outside of him, nobody else?
Nobody. No.
Okay, so you didn't have somebody else to look up to outside of him?
No, there was no other man. There was my grandfather. He was older and sick. And then it was just my mother and my grandmother.
Was your mother cautious of you getting close to Nicky or no?
Yeah, she was. She didn't,
even at that time?
At that time, you know, she didn't realize anything at that time. But as I got older and she seen the way I was going, the direction I was going, she kept telling me to stay away from him.
Was that already too late at that time?
Yeah, I didn't listen to her.
What age was it when she started telling you, Phil, you know, you may want to kind of...
When I was right out of junior or senior in high school.
Got it, okay. So you were already long enough around him to be influenced by his mindset?
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Definitely, yeah.
He tells you the story about who he killed and why he killed them. That experience takes place. As a kid, outside of the fact that, wow, this guy's sharing it with me, did you have any other reaction to say, I can't believe we just killed somebody and it's not a big deal? Why is he talking to me like it's not a big deal? Was there any reaction like that?
No, at that age, no. I didn't feel like scared or anything. I felt like that he did a good thing. The way he explained it to me, it was a good thing for the family.
Got it.
It was respect and honor. And this is what we're supposed to do. This is our life.
And where you were living at in Ducktown, was there a lot of mob? Was that pretty public? Did everybody know? Were they liked, admired? What was the conditions like?
In Ducktown, where we lived, well, eventually everybody knew who we were. Yeah, they knew who my uncle was. And then as I got older and I had a reputation myself, everybody knows. Newspapers would be writing about us all the time because we killed a lot of people.
But when you were 8, 9, 10 years old coming up, was there a big mob presence there or not really?
No.
It wasn't?
No, there was no mob presence, just my uncle.
Pretty safe place, pretty chill place.
Yes.
Okay. It's almost like how Compton was years ago where there wasn't a lot of crime and then all of a sudden Compton became what it became and folks, okay, that's good to know. Okay, so from there, you're going through high school. You're not yet dropped out of high school. You're doing school regularly. He's not asking you to leave school yet, right? Nothing's happening yet. You're still going full-time student. And what direction are you going? Are you going with the intention of saying, one day I'm going to run with my uncle, or are you going into school saying, I'm going to grow up to be XYZ? You
know, I was thinking maybe I was going to go with my uncle, but, you know, then in the back of my mind, I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to go maybe to college. But what happened, he wound up getting a subpoena from the State Commission of Investigation. And he was in Yardville for a couple of years. So at that time, after high school, I started driving my mother, my grandmother, his wife, and son to go see him in Yardville.
In Yardville?
In Yardville.
And what was that like every time you're going? Is he asking you for favors, or is he still just kind of, you know, trying to influence you and shape your mindset?
Well, he's telling, well, no, this is like my job now. It's my duty. I'm part of the family, so I'm taking them twice a week. And eventually start giving me messages to bring back to Phil Testa and about things going on and all.
And at that time, Phil Testa's the boss?
Phil Testa was the underboss. Angelo Bruno was in prison with my uncle.
Oh, that's right. Bruno has not been killed yet. So Phil Testa's still the underboss.
Yes.
Got it. So are you already an associate? Are you still kind of connected?
I'm definitely an associate.
You're definitely an associate at this time.
Because I'm bringing messages about killing people. At that time, he was trying to get the okay to kill Alvin Feldman. And with Ange in there, he kept pressing Ange, since they were right next to each other in the cells, about killing him. So they were waiting for Pappy Ippolito, which is Angie's cousin, to collect like $50,000 from Alvin before they killed him.
So while you're going back and forth, you're still in school.
I just graduated.
You've already graduated
Yes.
high school.
Yeah.
Okay, so in high school, if I'm in high school with you, who was Phil Leonetti in high school?
I was a basketball player. I was a pretty good basketball player. And all my friends, most of them became cops. My good friend Ronnie became a cop, which I still see today. And I was a basketball player. Everybody knew me as a basketball player, and that was it. Nobody knew the reputation of my uncle or my family or anything like that.
Nobody knew.
No, not in the school.
So you didn't have your blow-ups, you didn't knock anybody out, you
No,
didn't get into
I
fights,
wasn't that type
nothing.
of guy anyway.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't that type of guy.
Yeah, I know. I saw one of your classmates said he was the nicest guy. He said he wasn't weak, he was strong, but he wasn't somebody that would get into fights, smart guy. You
Yeah.
know, some of your classmates were talking about you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So then you end up high school. You finish high school. You get out. You're going back and forth. You're delivering these messages. At what point do you get to the point where you say, "I think this is the life I'm going to live 100%. I'm not doing
At that
anything
time.
else." At that
yeah,
time.
at that time when
Okay.
I start driving it back and forth, I knew I wasn't going anywhere. I was staying there with him.
And is this something you're excited about? Is this something like at that point you're like, "I can't wait to live this life"? What are you thinking at that time?
I always looked at it was like my duty more than being excited. It was just, I was just doing it. This is my family and this is what I'm supposed to do.
And at this point of the game, your uncle is not yet climbed up to the top, right? He's
That's
not
correct.
yet become
No.
the massive presence and the power that he has in the streets with the different families. How different did you see a level of, almost like an evolution of your uncle, of how he was then at 18 years old versus at 26 with Falcone to, year after year after year? Did you see him changing, or was he the same at 18 as he was at the end?
Well, his ego grew as he got more popular, and as we killed more people, he got, a reputation for killing people, which he loved. He loved that reputation. He mostly was, he went by the laws of La Cosa Nostra, mostly.
Mostly at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. So by the time you're 18, how many stories do you know about how many people he's personally killed by the time you're 18?
That he personally killed, it must have been about 5 or 6 when I was around 18.
That you knew about?
That I knew about.
And there could be more. It's just the 5 or 6 that you know about?
Yeah, that I know about.
Got it. And for him, it wasn't a big deal. It was something that he
No.
just did. It was a part of his job that he chose
Yes.
to. How many of those 5 or 6 that he killed were assignments that were given to him? How many of it was just purely reaction? Somebody said something offended him and he pulled the trigger?
There was one that he did on his own that he almost got in a lot of trouble for with Angelo Bruno. Him and this other fellow named Mark that was also a made guy. They killed this guy, and he told me the whole story about how he was bothering my mother, how they got friendly with the guy, they took him for a ride, and he said he had this 45, and he said they stopped the car to get out like they were going to take a leak. And when the guy got out of the car, he said he shot him like 4 times. He held him up in the air like he was bragging about that. The way the gun, the 45 actually held him up, didn't make the guy fall. It was hitting him, and the guy was against the car, and it kept hitting him. And every time the guy wanted to fall, he hit him again and bounced him back up.
And he's saying this, he's telling you from a place of joy, like this
Yeah.
was an
Oh,
interesting
yes.
experience. And is he encouraging you to, like this is going to be great when you one day do it? Is he taking that approach, or no, he's just sharing stories with you?
Oh no, he always told me, to get into this, to get this, which means La Cosa Nostra, to get made, you always got to kill somebody. And with him, he wanted me to kill 2 people. He says, just because I'm your uncle, it doesn't mean anything in this life. You got to obey the rules, you got to listen. I can't help you if you get in trouble.
So at this point, you're 18, you're driving him to the prison a couple times, you're coming back and forth, you're doing some favors, the $50,000, this is happening. What's next? Where does it go to the point where, I know at 26 years old was the first time you killed somebody yourself, but what are you doing at this time? What's going on with his own events, where he's moving up in the ranking?
Well, he was in jail for 2 years. And when he got out, he had a little bit of reputation. He went around visiting everybody, like Phil Testa, Frank Monti. We just started moving around Philadelphia.
Is he at this point an earner or not yet?
Not yet. We get hooked. He did get hooked up with a fellow named Cy Holfridge,
Okay.
a guy that he helped a couple years back with a loan and all. And he made them partners in a bar in Atlantic City. So he would go there every night. We would all hang there every night. And this is how he was making his money. And he started making money like that.
Now, money, is he making real money at this time or not
Making
yet?
a little bit of, he's making money to survive
What's
now.
money? What's some money at that time?
Maybe $1,000 a week.
Oh, okay. So he's not yet making,
No, he's
that's
not-
not happening yet.
Not yet.
So what causes, what event caused the boss to ask Nicky to go from Philadelphia to go to Atlantic City? What event caused that?
What happened was, it wasn't Angelo Bruno that sent him to Atlantic City. My uncle, when he was younger, was a bookmaker for his uncles, which are his mother's brothers. And they only gave him a salary. They kept him down. They didn't give him a lot of money, and he hated him for it. He worked like 12 years for them, and he said he was better off doing a life bit in prison than working for them. So eventually he got disgusted with them and just moved to Atlantic City. And my grandmother had a big apartment building, and he lived in one of the apartments there.
Because you hear two different stories. One is he chose to go up there. One is they asked him to leave because he was causing too much havoc and somebody wanted to take him out and they didn't want him to be around. He was too much trouble. He's making too much noise. He's going to expose us. So your version of the story is he chose to go to Atlantic City.
Yeah, he chose to go to Atlantic City. Nobody was going to take him out, especially anybody in Philadelphia.
Anybody in Philadelphia. No. Would you say even his bosses feared him?
Yes, definitely. Angelo Bruno, he was careful, he definitely feared us, because especially as he started getting people around him, like it was me and Chucky and Lawrence and Vince Falcone and this other fellow named Alfredo Ferrara. He started to get a little crew together when we were killing people. We killed DeMarco at the Enstem Hotel, and that was for Chicky Narducci. Angelo Bruno ordered it. We got the okay to kill Hellfine.
The judge.
Judge Hellfine.
So this is pre-Atlantic City.
This is in Atlantic City.
This is in Atlantic City. No, I guess what I'm asking for, what was happening in Philadelphia where, Bruno and some of these folks were getting concerned about Scarfo trying to make too much of a vertical leap? What you said they're scared of him. Why were they scared of him? Was he already
they knew his
reckless?
reputation. They knew his reputation. Angelo Bruno knew he was a gangster, and he was just careful of him.
And Angelo wasn't a gangster himself.
No, he was more like a businessman.
He was more of a businessman. Methodical. I hear he was a genius, by the way, when it comes down to business and money, those types of things.
What he would do, like when my uncle went to him and said, look, I'm going to do something with this Cy Holfridge right outside of Philadelphia. He's going to open up, in the mall there, he's going to open up this big bar and restaurant. And Angelo, nah, don't forget about it. That's not a good thing to do and all. He told him not to do it. In the meantime, he sends his son-in-law to backdoor my uncle to try to get involved with Cy to do the job with him, to get involved with him. So Cy told my uncle, and my uncle just wound up going to partners with him anyway, and Ange couldn't do anything about it.
Too late.
Because, he could kill him for not listening to him, but they were like a little worried about us.
Why didn't want to, if they're thinking that you could potentially really create some ruckus there, why wouldn't they take you guys out? What's the consequences if they don't?
There would be a war with us. They would have a big problem trying to take us out.
If they took Nicky out?
If they took my uncle out?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have a big problem.
Big problem.
With us, yeah. And plus, there has to be a good reason. Why would you, what exactly did we do wrong?
So there wasn't a reason yet?
No.
Okay. So let me, by the way, you seem very proud of about the fact that you guys were strong and you were feared by them, even though it's been many years. Yeah. So the consigliere of Angelo Bruno, his name is Joe, I believe, right? Joe, how do you say his last name?
Riget?
Yes.
Joe, yeah.
Joe took a liking to your uncle, right? Nicky, and because they were both from Naples or something
they were both
had in common.
Calabria.
Yeah. And at one point, there's a story about Joe wanted him to marry his daughter, and Nicky told him to his face, I'd never marry your ugly daughter. Is that a myth or is that the truth?
No, it wasn't my uncle. It was Chucky Merlino.
Chucky Merlino didn't want to marry their daughter.
Yeah, he wanted him to marry his daughter. And after he didn't want to marry his daughter, he wanted to kill Chucky.
Now, how is Chucky connected to Nicky?
Chucky started hanging with my uncle when he was 16 years old.
Is he family or he's just an associate?
No, just a good friend. His father knew my uncle, Chucky's father.
So at this point of the game, Nicky hasn't publicly insulted the boss yet. There's not been an insult.
No.
It's pretty, by the rules. He's following the rules. He's protecting the family.
Up to a certain point. Yeah, he's following the rules up to a certain point, like with this bar and all. He didn't listen to him because Ange went behind his back, tried to grab it for himself. because he was money hungry.
Nicky was.
No, Angelo Bruno.
Angelo Bruno. He's the one that was making $12 million a month at the time?
He was making a lot. He was the biggest drug dealer in Philadelphia, Angelo Bruno, believe it or not.
And one of the rules is to not do any kind
That's
of
right.
drugs.
Yeah.
Did that annoy Nicky, the fact that he was touching drugs?
Well, we couldn't say anything about it.
Interesting. So you go to Atlantic City. At what point in Atlantic City do you guys start making real money?
When gambling came,
Okay.
when casino gambling came, we got hooked up with unions. We had them all the unions.
You're dealing with union, and this is kind of giving you an upper hand, this giving you an edge on doing more business. At this point of the game in Atlantic City, are you guys making good money?
We're
now?
making a lot of money.
What's a lot of money?
Well, I know he was making at least $20,000 a month with the union.
So one account is
One
$20,000 a
account.
month.
We started a shakedown business, which Saul Kane, who was an associate of ours, came up with. We called it the Elbow. We would go around to people in illegitimate businesses and say, look, who gave you the okay to start this business? You owe us money for being in illegal business, because we're here to protect you if you have a problem with anybody else, because anybody could shake you down. So you're on our payroll, you gotta start paying us. And that's what we did. He went around all Northeast Philadelphia, all South. We had guys going all over the place. We had a ton of money coming in.
And what is that accounting to? What kind of number is that?
What kind of number of money
Yeah,
coming
if you're
in?
getting all these illegal guys that are paying you, what
I
kind of?
don't know.
Few $100,000 a month, that kind of
Yeah,
money, or
yeah.
Oh, so it's
It was
real
big
money at
money.
this point.
No, it was big money
So at
we were
this point, you
making.
guys are making real money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because not only they were shaking down, even though we were not drug dealers, but we were shaking down drug dealers. We were allowed to shake down drug dealers, and we were making scores with $200,000-$300,000 at a time with them.
So now you're up there. You guys are starting to make some money. You're making a couple $100,000 a month. Have you yet been ordered to kill somebody yet, or not? Not yet.
Yeah, we killed Pepe Leva, I think, in 1976, I believe.
You did, or
No, it was Alfredo, but I was involved with it.
Okay.
I was being followed by the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office at that time. So 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm in the My Way Lounge with all the prosecutors because they're watching me. And that's the morning he gets killed. And they still arrested me for the murder.
You were able to get off and nothing happened to
Yeah,
you.
I got off. Yeah.
How many times at this point have you been arrested before you're 26?
Well, I think it was that time. And then in 1980 for the murder of Vincent Falcone.
That's
murder.
it?
Yeah. I
Got
didn't
it.
have a record.
So you stay clean. You were low key.
Yeah.
Okay. So at 26 years old, walk us through what happens when you're ordered to go out there and kill Falcone.
Well, we planned it, me, my uncle, and Lawrence, that we were going to take Vince to this house that one of our associates owned in Margate. It was right on the beach. And it was wintertime, nobody's around. So he decided, my uncle decided, he said, let's bring this fella, Joe Salerno, who was hanging around us at this time. He's a legitimate guy, he was a plumber. He says, we'll take him with us to make Vince feel more comfortable, because Vince felt like he was going to get killed. Because him and Alfredo went to Chucky in Philadelphia to complain about my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we set up a thing that we were going to watch something over this Phil McFillin's house in Margate. So I said, come on, Vince, we'll take a ride over there. So me, him, Lawrence, and Joe Salerno went over there. We rode down there, and my uncle was already there in the house. And we went in, and he looked, as soon as we got to the top of the steps, he looked like he was going to run down the steps. So I started to say, come on, let's have a drink, you know.
He has an idea what's about to
Yeah,
happen.
he looked, suspicious, but I think him seeing Joe Salerno there kept him a little calm. So I said, Vince, the refrigerator, go get some ice and we'll have some drinks. So as soon as he turned around, I shot him back of the head.
How are you feeling at this time when you did this?
I didn't have any feelings towards him. I figured I'm doing the right thing for the family. He's talking about my uncle. He's cursing him and saying he's crazy and he's not doing the right thing. So this is what we do. This is what we are. We're killers. I mean, especially with my uncle.
So you shoot him once, and then what happened?
Shot him once. He fell down. My uncle said, shoot him again. He tested. He wanted to see if he heard a heartbeat. So I shot him again in the chest, and that was it. Then I left. He told me to leave and get rid of the gun and all. And they tied him up and put him in the trunk of his car and parked his car in Margate somewhere.
So they put him in the trunk of his own car.
Yes.
And then parked it in the market.
Yeah.
Now, at that time when you're doing this, are you worried about fingerprints? Are you wearing gloves? Is there anything?
Oh, yeah, we had gloves. We cleaned up the blood, which you really can't clean up blood, but I mean, if they hit the black light with, you'll see where blood was. But there was no evidence that we were there until Joe Salerno testified against us.
So you're leaving. You're done. You did your first hit. Are you feeling proud? Is there any emotions that you have?
That was actually my second one.
That's your second one.
Yeah.
How are you feeling at this time? Just
I
normal?
felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah, normal. There was, as a matter of fact, when I got to the office, after I got ready to go on, I called the radio station, and there was a fella, this Joe Disco was Joe Scaffidi's son. Now, Joe Scaffidi was a made guy in our family. His son's a radio disc jockey. So I called him up and said, play the song Do or Die as a joke. And that was it. And I waited for them to come back. My uncle, when they finally got back, my uncle was falling down drunk. We had to hold him up. He was so drunk he couldn't stand up. And it's the first time he grabbed me and hugged me, kissed me, and told me he loved me.
Is that the first time ever?
First time ever and only.
Only.
Yeah, that was it.
What was your reaction?
I couldn't believe it. Like, well, I was shocked. That was nice. I felt good.
And he never did that?
No, never ever.
So how did he win your loyalty? What was his style? Because there's different styles of winning loyalty. What was his style?
It was just, I just felt like, you know, we were blood, and it was just something that I was born into, and I had to do the right thing. I figured he's my uncle, and you know, he's teaching me the right thing to do.
So you said this was not the first one, this was your second hit. The
Yeah.
first one, you're saying, is this the first one you pulled the trigger, or no?
No.
There was another one you pulled the
No,
trigger?
the first one I pulled the trigger was me and Vince Falcone killed a fella that was robbing Chicky Narducci's crap games. His name was DeMarco.
That's the first one, though.
That's the first one,
Where
right
you pulled the
outside of
trigger.
the Ensign Motel, yeah.
And you killed him, or did Falcone?
Oh, I killed him.
You killed him.
I
Okay.
killed him because I ran out first, and he got stuck in the room. And when I first shot him in the back of the head, like he flew, I thought he was running away. But it was the force of the bullet that made him run, that made him fly like that. So, and then he came over and we just emptied the guns into him.
What's the reaction when you're looking at it? Nothing?
No,
Zero.
no, I thought I was doing a good thing.
So when you get in the car and you're driving with Falcone, what are you guys talking? Just, you know,
We actually, my uncle picked us up.
What's
a
the
block.
conversation
You know, we
like?
we laid it out. Nothing.
Yeah.
We don't talk in the car
At all?
Nothing. Just that we got back to the house. Vince went to his house, and you know, we came up. I was in the shower. My uncle came in the shower. Make sure you scrub your fingernails, get all the gunpowder out, and clean yourself good, and all this. He got rid of the clothes and all.
Were you always worried about being wiretapped or being listened
Yeah.
to? So where did you feel comfortable talking to each other where you're not being wiretapped?
Away from cars, places, walking on the street somewhere, like maybe in a corner where we would look around. There's no cameras.
There was a scene where they even heard you speaking to each other, and you were out in the street. So there was no specific basement place you'd go to? There was not like a place you feel
No,
fully
we wouldn't go to
comfortable?
one spot all the time.
You wouldn't go to one
No,
spot
never.
all the time? Got
Never.
it.
And we wouldn't stay near cars to speak either, because we always felt the car would pick up us if we were standing close to the car.
And back then, it's so, because things have changed so dramatically versus today versus then. Because today,
Forget about it.
you know,
you
you
really
got
got to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, the whole story we were talking about last night where one of the former mobsters you're sitting on, it's how come you don't have a new iPhone? I said, well, the iPhone is a perfect way to be detect
Yes.
me exactly where I'm at versus the old flip
Yeah.
phones. You know, you can't really track me. Any things you had where you were like, you can't carry this, you can't carry that, you can't carry this because it's a tracking system? Was any protocols that your uncle would tell you?
Not at that time, no.
Okay.
At that time, we were
Not that
using cell
advanced yet.
phones. I would have cell phones, especially at the bus terminal. There was 9 million cell phones. And that's when I had to call somebody.
Cell phones, or you mean like...
I'm sorry. Payphones.
Payphones, yes.
I'm saying
right, payphones.
Yes.
So you used the payphones
Yeah.
back then, and you felt
All
safe with the
time.
payphones.
Oh, yeah, because I would use different ones.
Got it.
All
Constantly on
time.
the move.
Yeah.
So when you made the second move and you killed Falcone, you leave. You're not thinking anything's going to happen, and then somebody goes in, turns in, and says you did the job.
Yeah.
What happens then?
Well, we get arrested. After about a week, my grandmother put our buildings up for our bail, and we got out. We had a trial going.
How did you get out of that one?
They had evidence, but you got 2 fantastic lawyers there.
Did they buy out any cops on this one or no?
Actually, we did, yeah. When we presented our case, we put this guy who was a Margate police officer that used to follow us all the time. And he said he knew our car, and he was driving by that house at that time and didn't see our car. And we paid him, my uncle gave him like $3,000 to say that on the stand. And that almost, actually, our defense almost lost us the case. We should have just finished the case after the prosecution, because even the jury told us, he said, you guys almost blew the case. I mean, by, having, because we had different people that were there, like One older fella that was a bartender at the greenhouse where this house is says he didn't see my uncle's car. But we took a break for lunch, and when he came back, he was drunk. You know, and he's on the stand talking, not knowing what he's talking about. So we could really blew the case by putting a defense on. We were good right after the prosecution rested. We were.
So with or without him, you were going to be fine. You didn't need him.
We didn't need him. No.
Okay, got it. So you leave. Now when you leave and you just killed somebody and you got off the stand, are you feeling untouchable at this point? Are you feeling like you know,
we really
no one
felt
can?
high, yes. We felt great. We really felt great. We were on a roll. This is October of 1980. We won that case. And then the following year, Phil Testa got blown up.
How did that
Well,
happen?
first Ange got killed, naturally. And then Phil Testa was blown up.
Is this a nail bomb? Nail bomb
This is the nail bomb, making
got
it look like it was the roofers that killed him. It goes back to Angelo Bruno, who got Tony Caponero to be his consigliere. And Tony actually didn't get along with Ange. He wanted to make money. He wanted to be the boss too. So he went to New York to complain about Ange, because he was friendly with the guys in New York and this Frank Thierry. And this fella told him, said, look, do what you got to do with Ange. Straighten it out, you know? So he took it where the guy was telling him to kill Angelo Bruno. So he set it up where John Stanford would drop the window, where they were parked out in front of Angelo Bruno's house. And as they were sitting there talking, Stanford lowered Ange's window and Tony hit him with a shotgun behind his head and killed him. And after that, everything went really crazy. We didn't know who did it, and everything really went bad.
Now, I've heard a lot of different versions of why Angelo got killed. What story do you know why he got killed?
He wanted to take over. He wanted to be the boss.
Got it.
That's
pretty much it.
That's it. Well, that, and by being the boss, you're going to have a ton of money coming in. He was shaking down Long John as soon as Ange was killed. He grabbed Long John, who was Angelo Bruno's big earner, because he was the drug dealer, and told him how much he wants, and asked him how much you make, how much you got coming in, and this is how much I want.
This is how much I want. You just got to give me what I want.
Yeah, that's it.
So what's he making at the time before he?
I tell you, they were selling that P2P from what we found out, and it came in 55-gallon drums. And contractors, cement contractors, would use it by throwing it in the concrete, from what I understand. They would make $500,000 on the 55-gallon drums. They would get the drums for nothing, because contractors didn't know what they were using it for by making P2P with it. And they were making a ton of money with it.
$500,000 per drum.
Yeah.
And how many drums were they moving?
A ton of them. I don't know. I mean,
A ton of them. You're not talking like...
a lot of them.
So you said when this happened, you said things got very ugly. What does that mean, things got very ugly?
Well, we didn't know who killed Ange. We wanted to find out. My uncle went to New York, sat down with guys. New York was really upset. Like, you know, boss is killed. The commission, is saying, whoa, what's going on here? Who gave the okay for this? My uncle finally was trying to get everything together, to find out what was going on. Phil Testa didn't go to New York. He was afraid to.
Why is that?
He didn't know anybody in New York.
Okay.
And my uncle was the guy, he knew everybody. So as he met with the Chin, Fat Tony, and everybody, trying to find out what happened, they called Frank Sindone up there to find out, and Ange's cousin.
Did they ever find out who did it?
They found out who did it. They finally called, I can't think of his name. All these things that we're talking about is the first time I'm thinking about them in a long time, man.
It's actually a good thing. It means that you've gone back to having a normal life. Like, these are not
Yeah.
things that you talk about on a daily basis.
I never think about them.
You never think about them?
No, not at all. Not at all. Caponegro. So there's a meeting with Caponegro. They call him, the first time they call Caponegro, he don't show up. So my uncle's there waiting. They finally, okay, try and get a hold of him, they tell him to come. So they sent for him again, and they said, who gave you the okay to kill Ange? And he told them about Frank Thierry. He said, well, I talked to him, he gave me the okay. And he said, I didn't give you the okay, I just told you to straighten it out. I didn't tell you to kill him. So right there, they killed him. They took him, and they tortured him. They stuck $20 bills up his ass. Really gave him a tough way to die.
Now, was anybody playing games behind closed doors that somebody did manipulate him into taking him out?
They did, yeah.
Okay,
they
so
did
they
manipulate
played
him. Yeah, they played him to kill Ange because there was a big bookmaking business up in North Jersey that Thierry wanted a piece of. And with him out of the way, he had no problem taking it over.
If it was played and manipulated that he did it, then why take him out? Is it to say that it wasn't our call? It was somebody else that decided to do it?
Ange wasn't popular. Wasn't popular with the
Who
commission.
would he be close to? Was he a Paul Castellano type of guy where he was just a money guy, or?
Yeah, he was just a money guy. Carlo Gambino was his man. When Carlo Gambino died, he lost all his power, Ange. I mean, Castellano didn't like him. None of them guys really had any respect.
So it was
for
coming.
him.
Everybody knew it was kind of coming.
Yeah.
So then they handle the killer the way they do. They say, well, I didn't tell you to kill him. I just told you, do what you need to do. What happens after that? Was that a statement to the marketplace that if you do anything, this is the kind of damage you're going to get?
They made an example of him. Yeah, if you're
Okay.
going to kill a boss, this is what's going to happen without the okay. You're going to kill somebody without the okay. This is what happens. After that, they wanted to make my uncle actually the boss of Philadelphia at that time. But he said no. He said, Phil Testa's been the underboss for a long time. He said.
Nicky said no.
Yeah, my uncle said no.
Even as a power-hungry guy like him said no.
He said no. He figured, he was close with Phil Testa.
Okay.
And he said, look, he's been Ange's underboss. I know him a long time. He said, well, he better make you the underboss then. He said, I'm sure he will, which he didn't.
He didn't.
No. He made Pete Casella his underboss. And the reason he made Pete Casella his underboss because he's a Sicilian. He's Sicily. And he made my uncle the consigliere.
Sicily is somebody from Sicily.
Yes.
Okay. And for full disclosure, it's not a curse word. It's not a bad word when
It's
you
not
say
a bad word.
It's
No,
just-
it's a nickname.
It's a nickname
Yeah.
for folks from Sicily.
Yes.
And is there some rivalry where some folks from Italy don't like each other? Is there?
Well, it's a rivalry where the Sicilians think they're the true Italians, and they don't consider anybody else Italian. Like, we wouldn't be considered Italian to them.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's pretty obvious. Everyone knows
It's
that.
obvious, yeah.
Okay. And what matters to them the most? Is it money? Is it pride?
Money.
Is it loyalty? Is
No, yeah, they're money people.
it above everything?
Yeah.
And that's also known amongst
It is.
everybody.
It is. It is now.
Okay. So then what happens next?
Now, this Pete Casella was he used to be a drug dealer years ago, and he said he was out of the business and all this. He didn't have any money. He got hooked up with Chicky Narducci, who had a lot of money. And Chicky Narducci talked him into killing Phil Testa, where Pete would become the boss, and Chicky Narducci would become the underboss. And he laid a lot of money on him. What happens, they made this plan where the Casellas were good with bombs, because he had a brother, Tony Casella, also. And they had this kid that set a bomb near Phil Testa's house, right next to his door. Actually, he had a wall, concrete wall here on his porch. So when Phil went to go open the door, the bomb went off and the blast blew him all the way to the back door and killed him. And Pete thought he was going to become the boss. Once he was killed, after that, when we went in and all that, he sent for my uncle. Actually, it was at Phil Testa's funeral, wake. Chicky Narducci was there, and he told my uncle, he said, Pete Casella wants to see you at Johnny Capella's house, which is his brother-in-law. So my uncle said, could I bring Chucky with me? And he said, I don't give a fuck who you bring. So right there, we knew something was wrong. I grabbed Johnny Capella. I said, what's going on? Because I heard what Chicky said. He said, oh, maybe your uncle he shouldn't go over there. I said, why? Why? Why shouldn't he go? So I told my uncle, he said, no, we're going. So I grabbed Johnny Capella. I said, come on, you're staying with me. If something happens to my uncle, I'm going to kill you right here. So we had him at the 9M bar. My uncle went. Thank God they came out alive. He said when they first got there was this kid that set the bomb, had a radio, listened for police calls in his ear. So they walked in. Pete was there, his brother Tony. Pete said, look, we know who killed Phil Testa. He's telling my uncle. And my uncle said, yeah, who? He said, it was the Roofers Union. So we want you to kill John McCullough, because he's the one. He said, John McCullough didn't kill Phil Testa. He said, I just send Ralph Napoli to the Chin to find out what's going on over here. I'm going to send a message that you're telling me McCullough killed Phil Testa, and we'll see what happens. Pete said, oh, crap, what do you want to cause problems now? He said, no, this is what we're going to do. He sent Ralph Napoli over there to find out what was going on and all. So my uncle sent word with Ralph up to the Chin to make an appointment to go see them to find out what was going on. So he told Pete. Pete was really upset about that because he figured, it's going to come out that he was involved with killing Phil Testa. So anyway, they left there, waited for Ralph to come back, had the appointment with the Chin, and they went up. He went up the next day. He told them about what Pete said and all, and told them that he was lying about it. So they sent for Pete Casella.
They did.
Yeah, they sent for him.
And your reasoning for doing this is for things to not get out of control? Were you just kind of trying to protect yourself as well?
We were trying to find out who killed him. We know we didn't do it.
Because if you won't go the wrong route and you assume that somebody did who didn't, it could turn into mayhem.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we have to find out who really killed him. We knew it wasn't John McCullough. It wasn't the Roofers Union. They put the nails in the bomb to make it look like it was coming from the Roofers Union.
Were they assuming, or were they trying to play a power game against you guys?
They-
Or were
he knew-
they trying to kind of, deflect it on somebody else?
They were trying to deflect it on
But
somebody
they knew
else.
who killed him.
Yeah.
Okay.
They knew.
So who killed him?
It was Pete Casella and Chicky Narducci and all the kids they had around them.
What's the motive for them doing that?
Pete wanted to be the boss because he figures once he becomes the boss, he'll make Chicky Narducci the underboss. He'll make a ton of money. Chicky would lay a lot of money on him. But see, Chicky didn't understand. You just can't become the boss. You got to get approved by the commission to be the boss of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't understand that. They thought they could just become the boss on their own. But they got to be approved. And they found out the hard way.
So what happens next?
So what happens next? We wanted to kill Pete and Tony, but they didn't give us the okay. The commission didn't give us the okay to kill Pete. So they said, look, you go to Florida, you're retired, get out of here, you're done, to Pete Casella. His brother Tony, we got the okay to kill him. Chicky Narducci, the other fellows, the kid that made the bomb, everybody involved, we got the okay to kill.
Everybody. You got the green light for everybody.
Everybody, except for Pete.
Now, let me ask you this. The commission, who is in the commission?
The bosses of the 5 families.
Okay, so when you go to the commission, do the folks, the bosses of the 5 families in the commission, are they pretty loyal to the idea of if somebody comes and tells you we got to take somebody out and they agree on it, they don't leak the information to nobody?
No.
They don't?
No.
Even though they're enemies a little bit. I know Lucky set up the commission, but even though some of the guys may be their own guys, they're okay to give the green light to say, yep, he did this wrong, you got to go do it.
Definitely.
Okay.
If a boss gets killed, especially a sitting boss that's on the commission. I mean, Phil Testa was on the commission. He was the sitting boss. They want to find out who did it, and they want to kill everybody involved.
What's their motive for wanting to do that? To protect themselves since they sit on the
Yes.
commission?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're protecting each other in a way.
Yes.
The commission. So is that kind of what led to Nicky being the boss?
Yeah. Then after that, my uncle put his name in the ring. He was going around meeting all the captains and all, and said that, he wanted to be the boss. He got the okay from New York, the commission.
So he becomes the boss, he picks his capo, he picks his underboss. What's the process of him picking his team?
He made me a captain. He made Salvi Testa captain. Chucky the underboss. Frank Monte the consigliere.
Why did he choose Chucky as the underboss?
It was his buddy. It was his, he was with him since he was 16 years old.
Did all of you kind of assume Chucky was going to be the
Oh,
underboss?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't something that wasn't known. You
No.
knew that was going to be taking
definitely,
place.
yes.
Okay. So at this point, now he's a boss, okay? And he was the kind of boss that he wanted everybody to know he's a boss. He wasn't somebody that wanted to be a low-key guy. It's not Nicky's
No.
personality.
No.
He wanted everybody in the streets to know we're dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
If you cross us,
Yeah.
bad things can happen
He
to
said
you.
we were sending guys out all over the place to shake people down.
Was that all the boss's approach as well as Nicky's, or no? Not all bosses had Nicky's
Well,
approach.
everybody's different. My uncle's approach was more, he's a killer. His favorite expression was that, got to shoot him, got to keep killing him. You can't stop killing, just keep killing him.
What's the motive behind that? To put the fear into everybody?
Fear, yeah,
So he controlled 100% with fear.
everybody.
Was
yeah.
all the other bosses in the commission same approach to lead with fear,
I
or
think
no?
everybody was different.
Give me an example.
Everybody was different. Well, look at Paul Castellani. He was a businessman. Chin was a tough guy. Fat Tony, they were tough guys, but they just didn't want to go out and start killing people. I mean, it shakes everybody up in the family, Like the movie with Paul Muni, Scarface. He was that type of guy. He was a gangster. He was over-the-top gangster. He went a little too far.
Let's talk about the life of a mobster at this time. You're a capo, he's the boss. What's the life looking like? What's the, I know you guys had a yacht or a boat called the Usual Suspects. You would go party on that. What's it looking like with, going to nightclubs, women, cars, travel, partying with celebrities? Is that experience already taking place or not yet?
My experience as a captain, I had a crew under me that I took care of, and I was also his bodyguard. I was with him constantly. I mean, when I left him, he was home in the house or he was somewhere else. My life was 24 hours around him.
Are you having any fun at this time?
Well, fun. It was...
Are you going to the club and there's 5 girls, hey, Phil?
No. No club. I would go out with Saul Kane once in a while, have a few drinks, and I'm the type of guy who would just sit down. And Saul was a good talker. He would just keep talking and all, and I would listen, and we'd have a few drinks and relax a little bit.
So this wasn't a womanizer type
No.
of a. Nobody in the group was.
As a womanizer, Lawrence was like America's Host. He would go out with a lot of different types of girls.
He would.
He was good. He was a character.
He was a character.
Yeah.
Was Nicky or no? Nicky was.
My uncle, no, he had a girlfriend. Naturally, he was married, but he had a girlfriend.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing wild, nothing out of control.
No.
Because that's pretty normal to have a girlfriend on the side.
Yeah.
But nothing where it's you're running through with girls left and right.
No,
you know.
no. That wasn't our style.
So then what was your style? Was it more, how are you enjoying yourself while you're doing this?
Well, we went out. We went to nice dinners. We went to shows in the casino before we got thrown out.
Were you partying with celebrities? Were you partying with people that were known?
Not really, no. Celebrities, not big celebrities. You know, celebrities in Atlantic City who performed there. We would know a few of them, but that's about it. I mean, he knew. He met Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin. He was friendly with them, but nothing big.
Nothing crazy.
No.
So you know, some of these movies, the way they portray what the life was like and how much fun and how much of a blast they had, you know, being in the mob, you didn't experience that part at all.
No, I didn't. I was a 24-hour bodyguard for my uncle. That was my life. When we would go to dinner, I would go with him. You know, we would be a bunch of guys, or if he was out with his girlfriend, I would be with him for a little bit, unless we went to a spot where nobody knew him, and you know, there was a hotel there, and we were just going to stay overnight and all that. And then I would leave him there and come back the next morning.
Where is the fun in living this life?
It wasn't that much fun.
Yeah, I mean.
I tried to make my own fun. I did my own thing as much as I can.
What is that though? I mean, you ask from different guys. They'll say, "Oh, I lived in a 10,000 square foot home. I had the Cadillacs, I had the cars, I had the jewelry, I had the girls. I would travel everywhere. I would go this." That wasn't you.
That wasn't me. No, I didn't have that life.
By choice.
Well, yeah, that was my life. There was no choice. There was no intention. I didn't even have an intention. That was my life.
You didn't even choose to do that. Like if you.
No, I didn't choose to do
But
it.
meaning, I guess what I'm asking is, it's not in your character to even be that way. Is what you're saying?
It's not.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. So
No.
you're not in it to say, let me tell you, I'm going to go out. I got the fur coat. That's
No.
not at all you.
No.
Zero.
No.
You could care less about that.
No.
Now, are you making money at this time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're all making money. Yes.
What's money? What kind of money is you're making?
A few $100,000 a year.
A few $100,000
Yeah.
a year. Okay. And is your uncle making tens?
A lot more than. Yeah.
Is he making tens
Yeah,
or is he making millions?
He's making millions.
He's making millions.
He's making a lot of money.
What's his life looking like? What kind of a place is he living in? What kind of a?
He lives.
Is he a car guy? Is he a jewelry guy? Is he?
No.
So everybody's pretty.
No. He's a pretty. He lives in a house. He lived in an apartment in my grandmother's building.
Mm-hmm.
And the apartment, what we did, we made a big house from 3 apartments. We made it big for him,
Mm-hmm.
The whole first floor was his. So he lived in the apartment. He never made his wife leave the apartment because he figured the cops would break in and bug the place. So she never was allowed to leave. And if she did leave, he was home. I lived in an apartment in Margate, and that was it.
So if I don't know you, you wouldn't look like somebody that's got a lot of money.
Well, I was dressed nice and drove nice cars, but I came off like I had a lot of money. We went to the Harlem Club in Atlantic City. They invited us there because he had a couple of black fellas that were in the union that we used for strikes and all. And so they invited us there. They sat us in the first row and had shows there at the Harlem Club, which was really nice. And stuff like that he used to like, And he used to like the attention he got in the newspaper when they called him a killer and all that kind of stuff. He used to like that kind of stuff.
What's the funnest you ever had being a mobster? What's the
When
funnest
we were
time
in
you had?
Florida on the boat, because I operated the boat and all, and we would go around. I loved that. I could have stayed on the boat all the time. It had beautiful, now you talk about a nice house. We had a nice house in Florida. It was right on the water in Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale.
We
Nicky
called
did.
the Casablanca South.
Nicky did.
Yeah.
Okay.
My uncle.
And you guys would go there regularly?
Yeah, we would go there.
So that was the fun memories you
That
have
was
of
it.
that?
That's
okay.
the fun.
So let's talk a little bit about your uncle's personality. What was he like? And what I mean by what was he like, I mean, obviously in a minute I want to get into what happens when you become an underboss, all of that, but a little bit about your uncle's personality. What was his personality like? If he's in the room right now and say he's at a peak of him being a boss, What would he be like? What kind of a person would he be if we're going out to dinner?
Depending on what the type of mood he's in. If he's in a bad mood, you won't want to be around him. He's out of his mind. He's crazy. He's in a good mood. He's a likable guy. He wasn't a nice guy to be around all the time. Like people that met him would like him, you know, because he would con them and all. But to be around him all the time, when you see how he really was, how he treated his wife and what he did in his life, it was no good.
What was a turning point for you where you kind of started thinking he's an evil man? Was there any...
Yeah, when Salvi, when we were going to kill Salvi, that killed me. That really killed me. That hurt me. And there was nothing I could do about it. I could tell Salvi, and if I told him, I know he wasn't going to leave. He was going to start shooting. And then what was I going to do? That was it. I couldn't do it.
What led to that?
He got jealous of Sal. My uncle was jealous that Sal was getting a lot of attention. He was even written up in the Wall Street Journal as a rising star in the mob, which really upset him. And then, you know, what was bad, that this is a mistake Salvi made. When my uncle was away, he started going out with Chucky Merlino's daughter, Maria. And my uncle, as soon as he heard that, right away he thinks that Chucky and Salvi are going to get together and go against him. That's the way he thinks. And it didn't work out for Sal because she didn't work out for him. She used to break his balls, and they just didn't click together. So he finally told my uncle, he said, Nick, he says, I can't do this anymore. He says, I want to break up with Marie, and I just want to make sure it's okay. And my uncle said, yeah, no problem. That's fine. It's better to do it now before you get married and all. And then he wanted to kill him. After he told him that, he told Chucky he wants to kill him.
Why, though?
Because he was very jealous of him. He was jealous. He was jealous. He told me, he says, why do I have to take a chance that he would want to make a move on me? And I'm thinking to myself, he's not going to make a move on you. And if I would have told him that, he's probably going to think that I'm involved with Sal to make a move on him. That's the way this guy thought.
Why did you know for certain that he wasn't going to make a move on him?
Of course, I know Salvi.
Not his personality?
I knew his personality. I knew him. He was with us. He actually loved us. He was part of our family. I mean, even when he got killed, my mother got so mad at me. She said, how did you let this happen? You know, and it made me sick. And I said, there's nothing I could do. What could I do?
Everything I read about Salvi is he was likable. He had the two dimples. He had the baby face. He was
a gangster.
Fun. He was a
good gangster.
Yeah, but at the same time, he had the values. He was the loyal guy. He wasn't a guy that wanted to cross. But do you see that as a common trend with someone who comes up aggressively like Nick did, that eventually you get to a point that you worry and you become paranoid that somebody could replicate exactly what you did to someone else? You think that's the trend on what caused Nicky to think that way, your uncle?
It could be. He didn't trust anybody. He was getting older he got, the more paranoid he got about everything and everybody. He started, even at one time, he said, he didn't start trusting Lawrence. He was hanging in Philadelphia. He started hanging in Philadelphia a lot. And he said, look, I'll get guys in New York to come here and wipe everybody out if you guys stop listening to me. He was really starting to lose his mind.
What caused that, though? Why was he getting more paranoid? The only time you get more paranoid is if you're losing control and influence over your people.
Well, he wasn't losing control because everybody was scared to death of him. And maybe, everybody was staying away from him. Everybody was scared to do anything. If they did something, they would, they're worried about getting killed.
So you knew when Salvi's hit was coming before it happened?
Yeah.
How much longer after you knew it ended up, the hit took place?
I guess it was a few months.
A few months? Why a few months?
Joey Punge was working on it, trying to set him up, because that was his best friend. We ran into Joey Punge on the beach, and my uncle said, what the hell's taking so long? Joey said, it's hard, we're trying to get him, he's suspicious, He says, I'm gonna tell you something, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill you, your father, and your other brother. So it got done pretty fast after that.
Did Salvi know what was coming?
He had an idea. He had an idea he was going to get killed, yeah. Like, I would go to dinner with him. Like, we would all go to dinner, me, him, Joey, and Anthony and all. And he would say, Phil, let me sit there so I could see if somebody's coming. I said, Sal, if somebody's coming in, ain't I going to tell you? Well, he was suspicious. He thought he was going to get killed.
The moment it happened, what happened next?
Well, they killed him, and Joey Grandy and Wayne Grandy killed him. They wrapped him up, and they dropped him on the side of the road somewhere.
Were you there or no?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't involved with that one at all? You chose to not to be a part of, or that wasn't your assignment?
No, I wasn't involved with it.
So did things move pretty quickly after that? Or no, back to business as usual?
Yeah,
Back to business as usual.
Yeah. He met with all the guys that were in Salvy's crew, and everybody said, "Yeah, he should have told us. We would have did. You know, we would have helped you." You know, it made me sick. They were all saying that we would have listened to you. Whatever you say, Nick, you're the boss, and all this. They were kissing his ass, and it was sickening.
You were there when you were watching all of this?
I was there with all the meetings and all.
Was your uncle the kind of guy that would ask, so Phil, what do you think about this? What do you think about the situation?
No, he never asked me. Just tell me. He would never ask me my opinion because he would get suspicious depending on what I would say. I would have said, "What do you want to kill Salvy for? I mean, he's one of us."
So even if he asked you, would you have given your opinion?
I would have told him if he would ask me.
Oh, you would have given your opinion, knowing he could have been suspicious.
Yeah, I wouldn't care, but you're asking me, I'm telling you the way I feel. I always told him the truth. I didn't lie about anything. I didn't cut any corners.
Who did he go to for counsel? I know as a consigliere, you got somebody to talk to, say, what do you think about this?
Nobody. The consigliere was my old Uncle Nick, who was senile at the time.
You can't do much with an advisor like that.
No.
So what is the story with Skinny Razor? I mean, I've read a lot on Skinny Razor, and Skinny Razor, they say he was the mentor to bosses. Who is Skinny Razor?
Skinny Razor, this fella from Philadelphia was a made member of the Philadelphia mob, who's captain actually, and he took my uncle under his wing when my uncle was young, around 16, 17 years old, and my uncle would hang with him a lot, and he introduced my uncle to all the guys in New York, all the bosses and everybody. He knew a lot of people, and that's how my uncle got to know everybody over there, and that's how they got to know my uncle and his reputation.
Was he a historian? Was he a guy that knew the history of the mob, or no?
Skinny was.
Yes.
Yes. Skinny was. He taught my uncle, and my uncle knew all the laws of La Cosa Nostra.
Due to Skinny.
Due to Skinny. Also, Skinny was a stone killer. He killed a lot of guys, and that's how my uncle got involved with killing people with him.
So Skinny was known for being a killer. When you're saying a lot of guys, what's a number with somebody like him? Was he?
I have no idea.
Dozens, or is it
I would say at least a dozen. I mean,
Okay.
he would kill people. He got the okay to kill this fella with my uncle that lived in South Philadelphia. Now, this fella was like an informer for the police. One day during a snowstorm, he grabbed my uncle and said, "Come on, let's go." They walked in the snowstorm because nobody was out driving or anything. They went in the store and they killed this guy who was the informer, and they cut his balls off and they stuck it in his mouth. And that's the type of guy my uncle was, and Skinny Razor.
Did you ever get a chance to meet Skinny?
No, he died. I never met him.
You never met him?
No.
But everybody knew who he was.
Yes.
He had a reputation.
Yes.
What, did he die a vicious way, or was it just
No, he had a heart attack, I believe.
What a way to go. I mean, in the mob world, that's a good way to go,
Yeah.
right? Although Sammy said, if there's a way to go, there's not a better way to go than to be killed, because you don't feel anything. If you get hit, if you get a bullet in the head,
Yeah,
there's
but
no
you want
pain.
to try to avoid that.
You want to try to avoid. That's
you
probably a
don't
good
want-
idea to try to avoid it. Now, Sammy, did you ever have any kind of a run-in with Sammy?
Well, we had a good relationship. Me and Sammy and my uncle, we were
Really?
really good, close friends.
So you would see each other quite often.
We would see each other a lot, yeah.
And was it a good camaraderie, respect for one another, accommodating towards each other?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, he's a good man. Sammy's a really, really good person.
Why do you say that?
Well, we got close with Sammy. Christ, from the 70s, I believe. My uncle and I met him with Frankie DeChico, and we just formed this relationship. We would see him every time we went to New York for meetings and all, and especially when John Gotti became the boss, he came down to make an appointment for us to meet with John Gotti as the new boss and all.
He came down.
Sammy came down and made the appointment, yeah.
Was Sammy's reputation somebody that followed the rules, was a proud mafioso himself? Because that's
Yeah.
what I've heard from a lot of people about Sammy.
Definitely, yes. He definitely followed the rules. He's a good stand-up guy.
So
Sammy.
what are your thoughts about, because there's two parties, there's two camps, that one say, he should have never flipped, and another camp says he did the right thing. Where do you fall on this? I mean, this is the world you were a part of.
Right. What we did by testifying, going against our oath, is something that we grew up with. It's very hard to do. And for him to do it like I did it, I know it's hard. When you get double-crossed by your boss, I'm glad he did it. I think he made the right move. Hopefully he has a good life, good life now, and everything's okay.
Any other major names you guys had a run-in with? Any other major names in the Italian Mafia world? Or was it everybody at that time?
We met everybody, yeah, we knew everybody. Marty Tassetti and his brother Michael and Tumac. Of course, they were coming down to Atlantic City a lot. You name them. I mean, you know, we met a lot of people.
Did you ever meet anybody more brutal than your uncle?
No, not as crazy as him. There was guys that killed a lot of people and all, but he enjoyed it. He really, really enjoyed it, and he liked doing it because he liked the reputation. After I got arrested for the Pepe Leva murder, an article came out by this guy, Mike Sherman, and they called me Crazy Phil, and I got upset about that. I said, what are they calling me Crazy Phil for? And my uncle said, shut up. He said, guys would pay money to have a nickname like that. All right, that's the way he thought.
Purely a reputation guy.
Yeah.
Now, was he a fighter as well or no? Because I know he did some kind of amateur boxing early on.
Yeah, he did amateur boxing.
Nothing.
No.
So you never saw him fight or get into it with people. If it was, he was going to.
We beat a few people up, me and him. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah, a couple of guys, a fella that bothered somebody that lived at my grandmother's apartment. We beat him up, and a couple of people we had problems with.
So you were talking about earlier when you said it got to a point where you were no longer enjoying working with your uncle. Turning point you said was Salvi, and then after the turning point, you're still doing business as usual. What leads to you deciding to turn?
Everything, like after Salvi went, like everybody really got scared about everything. Things weren't going good. Everybody, like the Crow got indicted and Tommy Dell, and they started to cooperate, and we got indicted, and I got so disgusted. I said, I'm thinking to myself, if I beat this case, I'm gone. As soon as I get out, I'm leaving. I'm taking my mother and my girlfriend, and we're heading out. And it just didn't work. I thought I was going to. We won the first two cases, but we lost the last case. But I was disgusted. I had it with him because during that time, during that federal case, Mark, my cousin Mark, my uncle's son, hung himself. And the reason he hung himself because his father wanted him to be involved with the mob. And the kid didn't want nothing to do with the mob. The kid was a legitimate kid. He was a sports kid, nice kid. He didn't want nothing to do with anything. And the father kept calling him names. You're a jerk off if you do that. If you play sports, you're a jerk off. And
why though? Why is he saying that stuff to his kid?
Because he thought the kid should be like him and be a mob guy. And the kid didn't want to be a mob guy. So the kid not only hung himself, he left a note saying why he did it. He couldn't take his father no more, all the pressure. And he signed it, your jerk off son, Mark.
Come on.
Yeah.
Who was the first person that saw him?
My mom. It was in the bathroom downstairs. Of course, and what he did, he laid out all pictures of me and him and on the bed before he did it.
How much longer after that did he die?
He lived a long time in a coma. It was horrible. I told my uncle, I said, look, he blamed my mother for him hanging him. That was another thing.
Your uncle blamed your mother?
He blamed my mother for Mark hanging himself. He said, your mother always hollered at him. I used to see the vein in her neck coming out when she would holler at Mark. I said, my mom didn't holler. I said, oh my God. I like couldn't say nothing. And he's hollering at me in front of everybody. We're in a cell coming back from court. And naturally he told my mother to get rid of the note. He said, throw it away. So I said, I told my mom, but I didn't see her right away. I said, don't throw that note away, keep it. She says, I already threw it away. But she told me what was on it. It was horrible.
So you never confronted him? You've never confronted your uncle?
No.
Ever?
No. The only time I got upset one time with him, Scarf Inc., my company I had, paid for a lot of stuff, airline tickets, everything, wherever we went. And I said, we should put some money into the Scarf Inc., make it legitimate, He said, fuck Scarf Inc. I said, fuck Scarf Inc. I said, it's paying for everything. I said, I must be the biggest jerk off around here. Oh man, I really got upset that time, but that was it, that's all I said.
What was his reaction?
He didn't say anything, he didn't say nothing.
So because you didn't do it often, he took it?
Yeah.
Did you ever want to take him out?
I did, yeah, actually I did. After this, with Salvi, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't warn Sal because he would start a war, start shooting it up and all, and I wouldn't know what to do. So I'm figuring every time we're in the car, when we're back from Philadelphia, we always pull off the road. We drive somewhere into the woods and walk far from the car where nobody's around. I figured it would be a good spot to kill him. Then I'm thinking, then my grandmother, what am I going to tell my grandmother? Not that she got along with him, nobody got along with him, but still, I just couldn't do it. But I thought about a few different spots to kill him.
Every time you wanted to kill him, you went to your grandma? Is that what you thought about?
No, I didn't go to her.
No, meaning in your mind, you're going to, you're going to have to face your grandma?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why you didn't want to pull the trigger. Was it very close to that taking place? Were you
oh yeah, because I already knew where we would go and the spots I would do it in. But I fear
What would have happened if you did? What would have changed?
What would have changed?
Yeah.
I would have left because there's no way I was going to go to New York and explain what happened to him.
Because you're done.
I wouldn't have done that. I was gone. I would have killed him and then left with my mother and my son and my wife.
You don't think they would have caught you no matter where you would have gone?
I would have to say no.
Really?
I would have to, I don't think they would have.
Because you have a place in your mind that you don't think they would have gone to?
I would think, yeah. I would think, I'm pretty careful, and as far as looking for me, I mean, it's not like I'm around doing business with people where they could get their hands on me. Number one, they have to find out who killed them. How would they know who killed them?
But if you don't go to New York to sit with them, they know
They
it's
might
gonna be
get an
you.
idea.
Yeah, they would get an idea it's you. If you face them, that could be a reason to say, I'm not scared. So I'm only thinking about, like, what was the breaking point for you to say, I'm not taking this anymore?
That was it. I mean, the way he was going off the board. It was crazy.
So now you guys get convicted, right? This is now you're going through court now.
Yeah.
What led to that? What led to the point where you know you're gonna go face your 45 years, after the 10 murders you're facing? What led to that?
Well, between Salvi getting killed and Mark hanging himself, I said, what are we doing here? I mean, we're killing ourselves. I talked to my mother. I said, look, because I needed her okay to do this. I said, I'm going to cooperate, and we'll get out of here. We'll get away from this screwball. She said, yeah, good. I'm glad. Do it. So that's what I did. I called up Jim Marr, who was an FBI agent. I said, Jim, do you know who this is? He said, no. So I said, I thought you were a voice expert. So I told him who it was, and I like to talk to them and all that. And we set it up,
Jim Marr, was there also a fellow named Klaus or
Klaus Rohr? He was the head guy. He was a great man.
So he was a great man.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was the head guy that was the head of that unit there. He was good.
So he delivered on his promises to you.
Everything. All of them guys did.
Got
All
it.
of them guys did.
So when you met with him, how quickly did you cooperate after that? And
Right
was
after-
this the time when you were in jail when you made the phone call, or
yes,
no?
I was in jail.
Oh, so you had already gone to jail. So both you and Nikki at this point are arrested. You're
We're
in prison.
arrested. I'm waiting to get sentenced, actually.
You're waiting to get sentenced.
So they would say, wait till after sentencing, and then we'll talk.
So he's completely elsewhere. Where is he at? Where are you at?
He was in one prison in Philadelphia, but I don't know. I might have been in Holmesburg at that time.
You don't remember?
One of the prisons in Philly.
I mean, it sounds like you've been a couple different places. So you
I was in a few different places.
yeah. So you can't remember which one it was. But he definitely wasn't at the same one you were at.
No, not at that time. No.
Are you in communication with him at the time or no? So
well,
what?
through Nicky. If Nicky would come visit us, he would send messages.
Nicky, his son.
His son. Nicky.
Okay. Outside of his son, Nicky, what's the last conversation you and him had? Actual conversation that you and your uncle had?
Last one was him yelling to me about something with Bobby Simone to tell him to get on the case, our appeals and all. This was after.
Bobby, your attorney. Bobby, the attorney.
Bobby Simone, yeah,
Sure.
the attorney. And as he was telling that, they were closing the door.
Last thing you remember.
Last thing. That was it. That's the last time I seen him.
And what year was that?
89. Wow.
Wow, 1989, 31 years ago. So then you go to Jim, you tell him, hey, I'm willing to cooperate.
Yeah.
How quickly is a decision made then? Are you
Well, they
negotiating
come-
with them and you're saying, if I do this, what will you do for me? Is this
No, I
kind
didn't
of,
say that. I didn't
how did
say
that take place? How did that event take place?
I said, I'm looking to cooperate, and are you interested? He said, yeah. So they came and picked me up. The marshals came to Otisville, where I was at that time, and picked me up, and that was it. And they took me, and from there I started to cooperate with them.
So they're not negotiating at all
I
with
didn't
you?
negotiate anything about time or stuff like that. Hopefully, I told them I hope you could do something with my sentence and all. I just talked to them about everything before any papers were signed or anything.
So then you're going back and forth. Is this when, you took this approach, and then what were some of the leaders and bosses that were affected by you being an informant, by you coming out and talking?
Well, I testified in the Windows case in New York with Charlie Rose. He was the prosecutor at that time. He was another nice man that passed away. He was a good guy. I testified at a couple different families in Connecticut. I testified. Trying to think. There's so many cases.
I read an article somewhere that John Gotti was also affected by it.
John Gotti, I was supposed to testify against him. This is what they did. They brought me to New York to testify in that trial, but they wanted to see how Sammy did first. And Sammy knocked it out of the ballpark, so I didn't testify.
So you went first. You were the highest ranking member to come out and be an informant. And then how much longer after you went out, Sammy came out?
A couple years.
2 years. Okay. Got it. 2 years. Were you in communication with each other at all at that time or no? Was Sammy reaching out to you?
No. While I
Okay.
was cooperating?
While you were
Yeah,
cooperating? Not at all?
No.
And so you cooperate, then they reduce it from 45 years to 5 years.
To 6.5. I wound up serving 5 years, 5 months, and 5 days.
Intentional? Was that
Well, with
intentional
good
or
time.
accidental? The fact that it's 5 years, 5 months, 5 years.
That's the way it worked out. That's with good time. That's what I served.
5 years, 5 months, 5 days. Very interesting. So while you were you in with anybody else?
While I was in, I wound up a few different guys, a couple guys from New York, drug dealers and all that. But I met Sammy. Sammy came there for a little bit. I was with him.
How long were you guys together?
Had to be a year, I bet.
Were you guys every day together talking?
Yeah, it was
spending
good.
time?
It was great.
Really?
It was great.
And you
Loved
guys
it.
are both pretty much in the same situation.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
good. It was really good. The time went by with him. It went by really fast.
He's a great storyteller.
He's great.
He's very entertaining.
He is great. And then Gino Milano showed up there. Other guys I talked that were other prisons, I talked to them on the phone.
While you were in, did anybody bother you or no?
No.
Did they know who you were?
Yeah.
They knew.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to cross you?
Yeah, nobody bothered me.
Nobody bothered
No. It wasn't that type of prison anyway.
Okay.
You know, have everybody
Got it.
there is a cooperator and also.
Oh, I got it. So everybody's
know.
cooperating. So they're almost
Yeah.
trying to find a way to protect all of you.
Yeah.
Because everyone's somehow
Yeah.
cooperating.
Right.
Okay. So when you came out, when you're in there, what are you thinking? When I get out, I'm never going back to the life.
Oh,
I don't want any
definitely
of it.
not.
I'm done.
I was way done.
100%.
100%. I got out, I hooked up with my wife and my mom and my son. We moved and I started, working and everything's working out. It's so much better where I could sleep at night and I have nobody bothering me. What a great life it is being not in the mob.
What a great life it is being not in the mob.
Yeah.
How did you prevent your own son from not wanting to take that route?
By cooperating. Philip was really good in math, my son. My uncle told me, we'll make him a bookmaker. I said, yeah, I don't think so. No.
You told him,
yeah,
I don't
I
think
said,
so?
Yeah, I don't, let him go to school. But, that's what he wants to do with all our family. He wants to get him hooked up in the mob. And
So your son was
it.
never like, I kind of want that fear, the way they respected you, Dad, and what if this? And
he was going to school, and in the school, my name would be in the paper, the same name as him. I mean, you have problems with the kids, and they'd give him a hard time because of who I was, It was bad. He couldn't go, he couldn't concentrate in school. It was a mess. It was a problem. So the best thing to do was get out of there. It worked out for everybody.
Get out of there and go to a complete different place, clean
Get out
slate,
of the mob,
nothing.
start all over again.
This is when you went into not wanting to show your face, no voice, no nothing. When's the
Yes.
last time you woke up in the morning worried about your life?
Never.
Never, since you left.
No, the only time I worried about my life was I had kidney cancer in my right kidney, and they took it out. My doctor from Italy, and that was it. It was fine. It was 10 years ago.
What'd you feel like when your uncle died in 2017? What did
No
you,
feeling at all. Nobody's going to miss him. That's what he would say about everybody that died. Nobody would miss him. I don't even think about him. I wish he would have lived 100 years just in the position he was in. I wish he would have made his full term.
when you're by yourself and no one's around, and you're kind of reflecting, thinking about him, the fact that your father wasn't in the picture, he kind of replaced that you have some kind of a loyalty to him, or not at all? You know,
To
take the role of your father.
initiative of
Yeah.
making me a mob
Yeah.
guy and a killer and all that, no, I have no
Zero.
loyalty at all.
At all.
At all.
So
No.
that shifted for you as you were going through it.
At all. I mean, look what he did. I mean, it's not only his fault, it's my fault too. I went along with him. And, you know, I'm not saying, but he showed me the ropes, he showed me what to do, and made me a pretty good, assassin.
Were you a cold-hearted guy yourself?
No, I'm not cold-hearted. I am not cold-hearted.
At the
But-
peak of it?
No, I was never cold-hearted. But look, when I killed somebody that was looking to kill me, I don't consider that to be cold-hearted. I'm killing other bad people.
Yeah.
I was,
No guilt at all about
None.
killing the guys they
No.
killed?
No.
Not till today?
No, I have no guilt. They would have killed me. I mean, this is what we do. We're mob guys, especially our mob. We kill people.
No nightmares middle of the night? No cold sweat? No waking up thinking about someone's family, kids, any of that?
No, if I had that, that would have been a big problem, being in the mob. No.
It would have been a big problem at the time of being
At
in
the
the mob.
time, yeah.
So how about the story that Falcone, Vincent Falcone, you end up marrying his ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
That doesn't mess with you at all.
Why would it mess with me?
I asked this to a normal guy. This is a guy you were hanging out with. It's like, I'm getting together with your girl. That doesn't do anything to you.
I married a girl that he was dating.
Yeah.
It just happened to work out that way. I mean, I wasn't going out with her while he was, dating her. After he died, I didn't start going out with her until like maybe a year later. It just, because she lived right across the street from me, and it just worked out that way, We just hooked up and got along.
Sometimes when folks in a military talk, and you don't understand when they're talking their language. Sometimes if somebody's civilian, they don't understand what it is to be military. Sometimes when you speak to folks from your world, you speak very matter of fact. This is just kind of what we did. It's the life I chose to live. And it's not, but to somebody that's not in your world, they may be looking at it saying, Phil, this kind of sounds crazy to live the life.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
We had to be crazy to be in the mob, yes. But this is the way I grew up, and this is what I was involved in. I mean, that was my life.
Let me ask you, did you ever have any run-in with Meyer Lansky?
Yes, we used to meet him in Florida during the 70s at the Eden Rock Hotel.
We used to meet him. That sounds like plural, like multiple times, not just once.
Oh, we met him a few times there. Yeah, we used to see every time we went to Florida, we would meet him. My uncle, me, Chucky. Nick Rosen, one of his guys, was there. He had cancer in his mouth at that time, and we were getting him drinking shots. He had a handkerchief here and drinking shots and all. It was exciting. He was a great guy. I mean, he was a little old man walking a little dog, little white dog, I remember. And he would talk about the old days, his buddy Benny, and it was just exciting. They had something to do with in Monte Carlo in the casino there. They wanted to send my uncle there with his wife. But my uncle said, no, I want to go with my girlfriend. He said, no, you got to go with your wife if we send you there. And
really?
yeah.
So he was that disciplined to say you can't go with your girlfriend, you can go with your wife?
Yeah, he told him no.
Was it a values thing, or we don't want it to be public? What was his reason?
It was, I don't know, but he felt like it's not right to go with your girlfriend, I guess.
Very
the way
interesting.
they thought, yeah.
Now, how did you guys view him? Did you view him as somebody that was one of the greatest earners of all time in the world?
Yeah, I did. I looked up to him like a god. I mean, Meyer Lansky. You read about him. You hear all over the world about this guy. It was amazing. It was amazing just sitting there listening to him and meeting and shaking his hand.
Any stories that stuck with you that he told about Ben or that he told about Costello or any of those guys?
Just about Ben. How much he liked him and broke his heart when he got killed. But you can't do what he did. You can't rob the casino. You can't rob the mob.
Was he as rich as everybody said he was?
I don't know. He didn't look rich to me. But who knows? I mean,
I mean, the numbers they say about him is like he had $500 million to $1 billion.
He must have been very, very smart. That's all I could say.
Did you ever watch him in an interview he did with the Israeli TV back in 1971?
No.
I want to show this to you and see how you see this for yourself. If he was like this when he spoke to you, because here he's kind of playing off that he's just a regular guy, that he's not connected at all. Here, this is the interview.
Mr. Lansky, why are the American authorities after you?
Because a newspaper man started a campaign against me, and it snowballed to such an extent that I guess it can't be stopped anymore. I was singled out for some reason. They needed an image. And this has gone to an extent where it just snowballed, and I don't know how far it's going to go.
And when did the snowball start rolling?
Well, actually, it started about 1965, when some newspaper man wrote an article that I have $300 million. Well, I wish I had $1 million. I said many more things, remember, have been said about me. They accused me of making a president. Now, I don't know Mr. Nixon any more than what I read in the newspapers. And the closest I ever got to him is seeing him on television. They claim I have 50% of Lebanon casinos. 50% of Monte Carlo. And Roosevelt sent me to visit Batista on a mission. Now, how ridiculous can we really get? This is just a gullible lie. Say it long enough and you'll get the people to believe it.
So you feel that you're a victim of public...
What do you think
He's
about
a
it when you see
character.
that?
I think he's a smart man. He's a character, man. Him saying that, when he mentioned Richard Nixon, there was a story my uncle told me about Chip DiCarlo, who was in prison at that time. He was dying of cancer, and they gave Nixon, well, Chip DiCarlo gave him like $500,000 to pardon him.
$500,000 to pardon him.
Yeah.
Wow. And how factual you think that is? That story's been told by others, or?
I don't know. We could check it out, I guess. I mean,
Interesting. Nikki took you to sit down with Meyer. What was the reasoning for that? Was it just because you were there?
I was his nephew. I was there.
Okay.
You could trust me. It was me, Chucky. It was our crew. Lawrence.
Why was Meyer comfortable talking to you guys?
Well, they liked my uncle. I mean, he was really, you know.
Meyer liked your uncle.
He loved him. He really, every time we would come there, he would come over to the Eden Rock and see him.
Why do you think?
Well, he knew his reputation. You know,
And
he knew what type
Meyer
of guy.
liked that.
Yeah, he knew guys from New York that he knew, and he liked that.
And how did Nicky look at? How did your uncle look at him?
Oh, he looked up to him.
Admiration.
Oh,
so.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
He really did.
Would you question some of the stuff, like him being worth $300 million or him having fixed the president? Would you say it's possible that he could have?
Yes.
It's possible that he
Oh,
could have.
I believe it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew he had something to do with Monte Carlo. He said it. So he wanted to send my uncle there.
I mean, there's some real strong stories about him that maybe we'll get into another time, but on how much influence he had, with businesses, Cuba, politics, presidents, all of it. Okay, interesting. I got a few pictures I want to show you on characters to see what your immediate reaction is going to be. These are some folks that you may have done some kind of a business dealings with. So let me pull it up. Mario, is it going to be? Okay, first of all, let's start off with movies. Are you a big mob movie guy or no?
Well, some of them, yeah.
Yeah?
De Niro.
Anything with De Niro?
Yeah.
If I give you some names, can you just tell me if you what kind of reaction you had to the movies? Bugsy, did you watch Bugsy?
I did.
What'd you think about it?
It was okay. That was all right.
Whatever?
It's a Hollywood movie.
Didn't do anything for
Nah.
you? How about Black Mass?
I didn't see that one.
That's the Johnny Depp, Whitey
Yeah, I
Bulger
didn't
story?
watch that, Whitey
Okay.
Bulger.
How about Goodfellas?
I liked it. Yeah, that was great.
Pretty accurate on
Yeah.
how the story,
Yeah.
the life was like?
Yep.
Godfather.
A Hollywood movie.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not a big Godfather.
No, I am. I think it's a great movie.
Does
But-
it depict the life?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Is that the
True.
closest one?
I think either Goodfellas would be closer. Goodfellas would be
Would
closer.
it be closer than
Yeah,
Godfather?
Yeah.
Interesting. How about Donnie Brasco?
Donnie Brasco was okay. It was all right.
Did you ever have any dealing with Joe Pistone or no?
No.
Never. Okay. How about Scarface?
With Al Pacino?
Yeah.
I like Al Pacino. But it was okay. Them kind of movies.
Casino.
Casino I liked that one a lot with Oscar Goodman and Robert De Niro.
Did you have any dealings with Oscar Goodman?
No, just that he represented me.
Oh,
That
so
was
he
it.
did represent you?
Yes.
Good experience?
No, not really. It was. I mean, one day he came to court with a big cut over his eye because they were drunk the night before in the saloon, and he fell down and slid his eyelid on the curb. They were having a good time.
Okay. Any dealing with Tony Spilotro or no?
No.
Okay. How about Once Upon a Time in America?
That was good. I enjoyed that movie.
One of my dad's favorite. Bronx Tale.
I enjoyed that too.
Good one?
Yeah.
Carlito's Way.
It was. That was
okay?
okay. Yeah, with Al Pacino.
How about Mobsters with Christian Slater?
Nah.
No? Meyer Lansky is the story. He's in
Yeah,
it.
I know, but
Not
it wasn't
really.
Meyer Lansky.
So your number one would be Goodfellas?
Yeah, I like Goodfellas.
Did you watch Irishman?
I did.
What'd you think about it?
It was a good movie, but it's not true.
It's not true.
No.
At all.
That guy didn't. No, Frank Sharon didn't kill all them people.
How confident are you about the fact that he didn't
I'm
kill
very
everyone?
confident. He's a guy from Philadelphia. He was a union guy, probably a tough guy. Beat guys up that are on strikes and all at the union. But he wasn't no killer.
He wasn't no killer.
I mean, why did we have to hire him to kill people? And they actually, I think in the movie they actually paid him, which you don't get paid when you kill people in the mob. You're not on the payroll.
If you're given an assignment, you just do it.
You
You're
do
not gonna
it,
get paid. It's
yeah.
not like a bonus for it.
Yeah, no. I mean, you have your own business, but no.
Was it frustrating watching? Like you're like, I know for a fact this isn't true, or did you just kind of
Well,
watch it
no,
like a
I
Hollywood
watched it
movie?
because I liked De Niro.
Okay.
I liked all them guys in it. It was really good. Like Joe Pesci. It was great.
And by the way, several people have also said the same thing you said about the fact that there was not much truth behind it. Few characters I want to show you, just curious to know what kind of reaction we're going to get. What do you think about when you see his picture here? Frankie Flowers, the Alfonso.
Okay, now Frankie Flowers and my uncle gave him a lot of chances. He had the closed circuit TV with the boxing, and made a ton of money. And my uncle wanted his end, and kept telling him, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't. Pay.
He wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't pay. So we beat him up bad, but he put him in the hospital for a few months. And when he came out, he still didn't pay. So they killed him.
When you say beat him up bad, he stays in the hospital for a few months. What do you mean beat him up bad?
Beat him up. We broke everything in his body. I think Salvi and Gino beat him with iron pipes.
With the intention of killing him or just bringing him
My
pain?
uncle told him, said, yeah, make sure you kill him.
Okay.
Beat him up bad, but if he dies, he dies. That's how it was. But he lived, and when he woke up, he said he thought he got hit by a truck. Naturally, he didn't say anything.
Why
But
do you think he didn't still come and say, okay, let me work with you guys?
I guess he wanted the money. I don't know. He didn't want to
Cost
give
him
up his
life.
money. Yeah.
Interesting. How about Antonio?
That's Angelo Bruno.
When you see that picture, you think about anything? Any emotions, any feelings?
Angelo Bruno, we used to call him Lefty, because he was always trying to send us, trick us somehow.
So no, you didn't trust him?
No, not at all.
How about Donald Trump?
Donald Trump. I didn't know him when he was young. Now that he's the president, I don't think he's doing such a great job.
So in Atlantic City, you had no dealings with him?
Well, we did, but not naturally, not me personally. We had a club called the La Bistro Club, and we sold that club to Donald Trump.
Got it. And he knew he was buying it from you guys?
Well, he should have known, because I think he made a statement. He says, those guys are stupid, like he is. He says, I would have paid twice as much for that building. Your man.
Let's skip this one here. Oscar Goodman.
Yeah.
I don't see the scar in this picture, though, at the top.
Joe Legambi. He was the only guy in Philadelphia. He's a good guy.
Good guy?
Yeah. He was he wasn't a bad guy, Joe Legambi. Out of
Okay.
all the guys in Philadelphia, he's the only one I like. He is the worst human being alive, this guy right here, Joey Merlino. Horrible human being.
Why do you say that?
He's a horrible, he actually robbed Joe Ponchatore's mother's jewelry. Joe Ponchatore's mother was sleeping on a couch in her house. In the summertime, doors are open, everybody's in and out. He went in there, seen her sleeping, went upstairs and grabbed all her jewelry and took it. Also, he beats everybody, borrows money, never pays nobody back. When my uncle was in jail, I would collect my uncle's end from Chucky. It was always short, and it wasn't Chucky taking it. I know he was taking it, A few hundred here, a few hundred. Every time I got money, it was a few hundred short. And I didn't want to say nothing to Chucky about it, but that's Joey Merlino. Low life.
You ever had a run-in with him? You ever had any experiences with him
No,
personally?
he was younger when I was around. I used to call him Jose.
Did he have any kind of connection to Johnny Gongs or no?
Well, I think he was friendly with him.
He was friendly with them.
As far as I know, I wasn't around at that time.
Do you know the rumor about Johnny Gongs who, he would sit by his Corvette and put a $20 bill up top of it saying, if anybody can knock me out, they get to take that $20 bill?
Really?
Do you
No.
know that story?
No.
Okay. Yeah, apparently he was a...
Tough guy.
There's a reason why they call him Gongs is because when he would hit you, Gongs, the sound, you would feel it. You didn't have any experience with him though?
No.
Okay.
No.
Interesting. Okay. How about John Lisi?
No, I didn't know him.
You didn't know him? Okay.
Judge Helfine, yes. We knew Judge Helfine. He was a crooked judge. We paid him $12,000 to get, 12 or 15, I don't know what it was. Nick DeBlade was going to get sentenced for murder, and we told him, he said he could get it 2 to 3 years, he'll pay the judge $15,000. And we gave him the money. DeBlade got 12 and a half to 15. So he just, beat us for the money.
He just beat you for the money.
Yeah.
And what is the story with Judge where he came around and asked for a favor to help him out because he was facing some challenges and your uncle
He was on trial.
He was on trial.
And there was a guy testifying against him.
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
Yeah.
So Harold Garber, who was representing him at that time, got my uncle and to fly to Atlanta to talk to this guy. But my uncle actually didn't. My uncle sat here. The guy knew who my uncle was. And then Harold sat here with the guy talking to him. My uncle was just looking at the guy to help Judge Helfine out. So the guy went and testified against him.
But knowing his motive, your uncle's motive was bigger than that.
Oh, yeah, he knew he would get killed. In other words, the guy testifying against Helfine knew my uncle would kill him if he would.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Yes.
But what I'm asking is, was there a bigger motive that your uncle wanted to
Oh, yeah, well,
straighten things out with him because
he
he was
didn't want-
behind closed doors, kind of throwing your uncle under the bus.
yes, he didn't want him to go to jail. He wanted him on the street so we could kill him.
He wanted to do the job. He didn't want somebody else to do the job.
Yeah, he wanted Nick the Blade to kill him. Since
Now, how is Mickey Coco attached to this? Any at all, or Mickey Coco is a complete
No.
different story?
No, he's a different story.
Mickey Coco is the guy that was selling drugs to Frank
Monte's,
his son.
yes.
Okay. No relation to this at all.
No.
Okay. Got it. Interesting. Okay. Meyer Lansky, we spoke about.
Nick the Blade.
What do you
Nick the
think
Blade
about-
was good. He was troubled. He had demons because one of his kids drowned, when he was younger, and ever since then he was never right. He was a good guy though, but when he would drink, he wasn't allowed to drink around us until like midnight. He was a good person. I'll tell you a story. A fellow Bit of Beat was around us. He was a bookmaker for us. Anthony Farside, his name was, and we used to hang at a place called Harry the Hat's in Atlantic City. And Harry would have gambling going on in the back. So Bit of Beat, who was in there gambling with these fellas, they were robbing him, They had him for like $2,000, $3,000. The Blade comes in, says, hey, Beat, what are you doing? He says, I'm gambling. And he sees everybody here. He knows they're all hustlers. He says, get up. I'm playing for him. Dealt the cards. He said, nobody, look. He says, I win. Until he got all the money back. That's the type of guy he was. He wasn't.
He fought for the little guy.
He'd fight for the little guy, for Anthony. He would call him Anthony. And he got all his money back and took more. Of course, he would shake people down because they knew he was crazy.
He was qualified crazy.
Qualified crazy,
Okay.
yeah.
You see this picture, what do you think about?
Poor Mark. My cousin Mark and Nikki that got 30 years for nothing. Wasted lives. Wasted lives, and it's my uncle's fault.
Does Nick at all reach out to you? Have you had any kind of communication with him?
I had communications with him after I got out of prison.
Okay.
Early, around 95, 5-ish, and I told him, what are you doing? Get out of here. I said, you could come with me. I mean, we're all set up. You'll be fine. You'll make money, you'll work, you have a nice life. He said, yeah, he was thinking about it, but he was on his way to prison for like 18 months or something. He had a short bit to do, and that was it. Went his own way after
And
that.
led to being there for 30 now.
Now he's in there for, 30 years. That's his life.
You see a picture like that, your uncle.
Yeah, I remember that day. We went to Washington. He was in front of the Senate committee.
What memories does it bring back?
Nah, that's memories. All kinds of memories of him, of how crazy he is. He was a really evil man that, so many horrible stories that I'm even embarrassed to talk about to you. Of course, it's my family. Paul Muni.
Was that his inspiration?
That's it. That's the man.
That's his hero? That's the guy he wanted to be?
That's the guy he was.
Out in the public,
Out
make
in
an
the
example.
Public. That's it. Just keep killing. You got to keep killing. Got to do this, he says, and you got to keep doing it. Okay. Peter Casella, that's the guy that killed Phil. They got lucky, he got away.
You remember that?
Yeah, I know, I was there. I seen it.
That was a game changer for you. That's where a major decision was made for you.
That's where Phil Testa was killed.
Yeah.
And that's when, this is actually when we started to make money after my uncle became the boss. That's when we really started making big money.
So this was a positive turning point for you.
Yeah, I hate to say it like that,
Because this is not
but
Sally.
yeah.
This is
This is
Phil.
his father.
Right.
Yeah. Chucky. Chucky was a good guy. He was a good person. He had a drinking problem at the end, and it was because of my uncle. It drove him crazy. And Sal. I mean, my son after him.
You named your son after him.
I have a younger son.
You get emotional when you think about him.
Yeah. Well, of course it's my fault. Yeah. He was no good.
You hear the story, and you hear all these different sides to the story, right? Family, you're in it. Looking back now, you've completely made a transition and you've left. It's very hard to do. Was there ever a moment where you're tempted to look back and get back into it, or never?
Never.
Never announced a temptation?
No. I'd rather kill myself
Then
than go back.
into that.
Oh, why? Yes. Not even a thought.
Not even a thought.
No.
Do you think that model of how they were running back in the 70s and 80s is possible today?
No.
No. Why?
Because of all the cameras they have today, the police officers, the FBI, all the surveillance they have, you got to be really, just to kill somebody, you got to be really careful. Today. I mean, my uncle wanted to kill somebody in the casino back then. We could have did that back then, to break balls.
Can't do that today with cameras.
No.
Cameras are everywhere. You ever seen the movie Primal Fear?
No, but it sounds familiar.
Primal Fear is with a guy named Edward Norton,
Yes.
with Richard Gere. You ever seen it?
I might, if I did, it was a long time ago.
So let me ask you this question, and I'm curious to know what you're gonna say to this. In the movie Primal Fear, Edward Norton plays a role of this guy who has two personalities, right? And he is asked by the priest to do some stuff that inappropriate. Like the priest would bring him in and another girl and take your clothes off, do this to her, do that to her. This is the storyline of the movie. And eventually he snaps and he kills him in the movie, okay, Edward Norton. And he gets caught, he gets arrested. Richard Gere ends up becoming his attorney. And while he's going through with him, pushes him one time when he's asking tough questions, then all of a sudden this guy whose name is Aaron, and he stutters, Aaron turns into Roy. And Roy's this tough guy, you know, pushing, challenging, like you can't push Roy. And Roy almost protects Aaron. So he's got two personalities, right? Okay. I watch you. Last time we go to dinner together, and I watch you. If I don't know you, you come across like a really nice guy. Easygoing, chill, you're a good father, you want to do your best, you want to be a good family man. Are there two personalities to Phil? Is there the regular Phil that we know of, and is there the crazy Phil? There is?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't like that nickname, but yeah, I was a killer in the mob, and I left that in my mind to try and make myself normal. I separated that life and a normal life. So when I was with my uncle, and you know, we would kill somebody, or we had to plan killing people, that's what I did, and I was really, really good at it, and that's why he liked me. If I wasn't good at it, he wouldn't care about me. You know, that's the type of guy he was. And then when I would be away from him, I would try and have a normal life. You know, I'd become myself. Then I wouldn't be that other person.
So the real you is not.
It's not
the
the
nickname
mob.
that you don't like. It's not the mob.
No.
The real you is the easygoing family,
Yeah.
yourself. That's the real you.
That's it, man.
Okay.
That's me.
That tells you the power of influence when somebody gets a hold of you. Now, what would have happened if your uncle was a businessman? Say your uncle was a doctor, he was a accountant, he was a financial advisor, and he was very, very good, and he decided to mentor you. Who would you have turned out to be?
Exactly what he was.
Got
I
it.
would have been really, and that would have been normal. That would have been my normal self. I wouldn't have to be somebody else that I didn't want to be. You know, it would have worked out better.
How does somebody who's in the spell of somebody like that, how does somebody leave that life when they're too deep? Think about an 18-year-old Phil. By the way, they're everywhere, just so you know. There's a lot of guys that are connected to the wrong family, and there's bad habits, right? You see a lot of different communities. Is there a formula to leave at that age when you're naive and you don't have everything?
It's hard. When you know, because you're young, you're not smart. You know, you really don't know everything, even though you think you do. And that's why I wrote this book, to show people that the mob's not glorious like newspapers make it. You know, they're all backstabbers and cutthroats, and they'll kill you just to take over your business, maybe. You know, make up lies about you so they could get in and make money. It's all about money. We're in the mob to make money. That was besides killing everybody, we make money.
Last thing is speed round. I'll give you some names. Tell me the first one word that comes to mind. Okay, just one word that comes to mind. Jim Marr.
Good man, good FBI agent. He was fair.
Tommy Dell.
He was a drunk.
Is a drunk. Oscar Goodman.
He wasn't as good as I thought as a lawyer.
John Gotti.
When we met him, he was nice with us. That's about all I know.
Sal Testa.
He was my buddy.
Chicky Marducci.
He was no good. He was he killed Phil to become a boss. He was money hungry, he was power hungry. He thought he was a big shot.
Sonny Francis.
I don't know him.
You don't know him?
No.
Michael Francis.
Never
Nothing
met
with the two families. Okay. And last but not least, Nicky Scarfo. One word.
Gangster.
One word, gangster.
Gangster. That's it. That's what he is. And that's when he went out as a gangster. That's what he wanted to be, so you got it.
Phil, you're not somebody that does a lot of interviews. So meaning this is not like you're going to go do rounds because you're going out there doing 5, 10 of these interviews. That's not your style. What do you want people to be thinking about? I mean, there's only a couple things out there to watch what you're thinking about. Final thoughts here. Final thoughts before we obviously encourage folks to go read the book, because I read the book myself. What are your final thoughts for the viewer right now?
To understand what I'm talking about. I mean, we're not to glorify the mob. The mob's not. It's nice looking at the mob from the outside, but when you're in the mob and you're dealing with members, it's not the same thing. The mob wants you to like them so they could get money from you or do favors for them and, try and trap you. Just stay far away from any organized crime people.
Stay as far away from
as you can.
Many organized crime people.
No matter, any criminals. I mean, you're not going to wind up, they don't care about legitimate people. I mean, you're not going to wind up in a good position. They're the ones with the guns. They're the gangsters,
First of all, thank you for coming out and sitting down and being willing to talk to us. I mean, obviously, last night it was a completely different perspective, and then today to be able to do this where a lot of the audience was wanting to hear from you to see what your thoughts are after all these different folks that have showed up. What I will tell if you're watching this is the way this book is written, is how I like books to be written, because I'm getting a story and then I'm getting an argument and then I'm getting insight from the point of view of Phil and the things he experienced. So if you haven't yet read this book, if you're somebody that enjoys the mob interviews that we do and you've read all the other books, you got to go read this one as well. We're going to leave the link below for you to go watch, for you to go order the book and read it for yourself. Mafia Prince Inside America's Most Violent Crime Family and the Bloody Fall of La Cosa Nostra by Philip Leonetti. Again, if you haven't read it, click on the link. Philip, once again, thank you so much for making the time to come out here and be a guest on Entertainment. Appreciate you. It's interesting from watching the interview from your perspective, because you can't see any facial reaction. I can tell you from myself sitting right across from the last couple hours, there were moments where the more we got deeper into talking about his Uncle Nicky, you could tell the absolute frustration with him, okay? Like absolute frustration with him when he was talking about it. But there was also a part when we talked about, I don't know if you caught that when I was showing the pictures, and it was Salvi Testa, and he saw the picture. You didn't see it. He got emotional. It was very obvious. There was his eyes got filled with teary-eyed, and he swiped it because he didn't want to look at the picture anymore. You could tell he had some regret about what happened, and it was a very sincere emotion that you felt that, because there's a lot of people I've interviewed on the mob side, and some of them went in and it was great life, we did this, we did that. This was not. You noticed the part when I asked, so how was the life like? Were you partying? Were you doing this? So it was a different kind of an interview, definitely a different kind of an interview to hear a story of somebody that wants nothing to do with it and wished he never had anything to do with it. And I want to hear your thoughts, how different this is than some other interviews we've done in the past. So if you can comment below on what your biggest takeaway was from this one. And then again, if you haven't watched the Oscar Goodman interview that he and I did, Oscar Goodman was an attorney to a lot of different folks in the crime world. If you haven't watched that, click on this to watch the Oscar Goodman interview. And if you haven't watched the Sammy the Bull Gravano interview, click over here. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.